I paid $19,500 toward my granddaughter's Sweet 16 party. Tent, flowers, catering. A week later, the coffee maker beeps 3 times, like it always does, and I stand there in my robe watching it drip. Black, no sugar. I used to make it with cream and 2 sugars for him every morning for 43 years, but now it is just me and the beeping and the quiet. The kitchen is too clean. The counters are empty. I used to have magnets on the fridge from every vacation we took. Florida, Maine, that little bed and breakfast in Vermont where he swore he saw a bear. Now the fridge has nothing but a takeout menu for a pizza place I have never called, and a reminder from my doctor about my next blood test. I am 72 years old, and I am learning how to be alone in a house that used to hold 5 people. I moved to this house in 1989. My husband Tom was 31, with thick hands and a laugh that came from somewhere deep in his chest. We bought it for $112,000, which felt like a fortune. I remember signing the papers at the kitchen table because the closing attorney came to us, since I had just given birth to our daughter Kelly 6 days earlier. Kelly was wrapped in a yellow blanket, sleeping on my chest, while I signed my name over and over. Tom kissed my forehead and said, "This is ours. This is forever." I believed him. I believed everything back then. The house has 3 bedrooms upstairs and a finished basement where the kids watched movies and a backyard that slopes down to a little creek. I planted roses along the fence in 1995. They are still there. I deadhead them every spring even now, even though my knees hurt and my hands shake a little from the arthritis. The roses are the only thing in my life that still do what they are supposed to do. They grow. They bloom. They do not lie to me. Kelly was our only child. We tried for more, but it never happened. 3 miscarriages between 1986 and 1990. Tom stopped talking about it after the 3rd one. He just held me in the hospital bed and said, "We have Kelly. Kelly is enough." And she was. She was this bright, loud, beautiful girl with curly hair and a temper that could clear a room. She got that from me. I used to tell her that. "You got your temper from me, baby, but you got your stubbornness from your father." She would roll her eyes and slam her bedroom door, and I would laugh because I did the same thing to my mother 30 years earlier. Kelly grew up. She went to college at Penn State. She met a boy named Derek from Scranton who wore cargo shorts and talked about real estate like it was poetry. They got married in 2012 at a vineyard in the Poconos. I cried during the father-daughter dance. Tom cried too. He never cried. He cried that night. I remember him standing by the bar with a whiskey in his hand, watching Kelly spin around the floor in Derek's arms. He looked at me and said, "She is going to be okay." I think he was trying to convince himself more than me. Derek was fine at first. He was polite. He called me Mrs. Hartwell, even when I told him to call me Susan. He had this way of smiling that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. That should have been a red flag. People who smile like that are practicing. They are giving you something because they want something back. But I did not see it then. I just saw a young man who loved my daughter and wanted to build a life with her. They bought a townhouse in a development 40 minutes from me. Close enough to visit, but far enough to have their own space. I thought that was perfect. They had 2 girls, Emma in 2014 and Chloe in 2016. I became the grandmother I always wanted to be. I babysat every Tuesday and Thursday. I made pancakes shaped like animals. I read Goodnight Moon so many times I could recite it in my sleep. I took them to the park and pushed them on the swings until my arms ached. Tom built a swing set in our backyard for them, a real one with a slide and a tire swing and a little fort on top. He spent 3 weekends on that thing. He would not let me help because he said I would measure wrong, but I brought him lemonade and sandwiches and watched him work. He was happy then. We both were. Tom retired in 2019. He was 63. We had saved enough. We had a little money in the bank, and the house was almost paid off, and we had his pension and my Social Security, and we thought we were safe. We thought we had done everything right. We talked about traveling. He wanted to see the national parks. I wanted to see Italy. We compromised on a cruise to Alaska for our 40th anniversary. That was the plan. That was the dream. Then Tom got sick. It was fast. That is what everyone says. But you do not understand fast until you watch a man go from lifting his granddaughter onto his shoulders to needing help walking to the bathroom in 6 months. Pancreatic cancer. By the time they found it, it was everywhere. Stage 4. The doctor said the word palliative, and I had to look it up later in the parking lot because I did not want to cry in front of Tom. Palliative means we are not trying to save you. Palliative means we are trying to make your death less uncomfortable. I sat in my car for 20 minutes with my forehead against the steering wheel, and I did not cry. I could not cry. Something inside me had already started to freeze. Tom died in December of 2021, 3 days before Christmas. He was holding my hand. His eyes were open, but they were not looking at anything. The nurse said he could probably still hear me, so I talked to him. I told him about the first time we met at that party in college. I told him about the night Kelly was born and how he held her like she was made of glass. I told him about the swing set he built for the girls. I told him I loved him. I told him it was okay to go. And then he went. The funeral was small because of COVID, but Kelly and Derek were there, and the girls were there, and my sister Barb came down from Massachusetts. People brought casseroles and flowers and cards with money in them. I put the money in a drawer and threw the casseroles away because I could not eat. I could not do anything. I just sat in my chair in the living room and stared at the wall. Kelly stayed with me for a week. She made me tea. She held my hand. She told me I did not have to be strong. I remember thinking that was the kindest thing anyone had ever said to me. After that week, Kelly went back to her life, and I was alone. The first year was a fog. I do not remember most of it. I know I paid bills. I know I went to the grocery store. I know I answered phone calls from my sister and from Kelly and from a few friends who checked in. But I was not really there. I was somewhere else. Some dark room inside my own head where the walls were soft and the floor was made of grief. I lost weight, 15 pounds. My doctor asked me if I was eating. I lied and said yes. Then Emma turned 14, and something clicked back on inside me. I had a reason to get up. Emma and Chloe, my girls, they were the only light left. I started driving to their house again every week. I helped with homework. I took them to dance class and soccer practice. I bought them clothes and books and the expensive sneakers that Kelly said were too much money. I did not care about the money. Money was for them. Everything was for them. Derek started paying more attention to me after Tom died. At first, I thought he was just being kind. He would call to check on me. He would send me little texts with photos of the girls. He showed up with his truck when I needed to throw away the old water heater. He fixed the leaky faucet in my guest bathroom without me even asking. I thought I was lucky to have a son-in-law like him. I thought God had taken my husband, but left me this family to hold on to. I was so stupid. It started small. Derek mentioned that Emma wanted a big Sweet 16 party. Not just a party, a production. A tent in the backyard, a DJ, a caterer, a photographer, a dress from some boutique in Philadelphia that cost more than my first car. Kelly laughed about it at dinner one night. She said Emma is crazy if she thinks we are spending that kind of money. Derek shrugged and said, "Every girl in her class is having one. It is what they do now." I did not say anything at first, but I thought about it. I thought about Tom. He would have wanted this for his granddaughter. He would have rented the tent himself. He would have grilled burgers in a stupid apron and told terrible jokes and cried during the father-granddaughter dance, because that is who he was. He was soft in a way that embarrassed me sometimes, but I loved him for it. I loved him for all of it, so I offered to help. I called Kelly one night in February. She sounded tired. Work was busy, Derek was traveling for something, the girls were fighting about something, just the normal chaos of a house with teenagers. I told her I wanted to pay for Emma's party, all of it, or most of it. I had some money from Tom's life insurance. I had the house. I had savings. I was not rich, but I had enough. What was I saving it for anyway? A nicer nursing home? I would rather see my granddaughter smile. Kelly cried. She said, "Mom, you do not have to do that." I said, "I know I do not have to. I want to." She said, "Derek will not want to take that much money from you." I said, "It is not for Derek. It is for Emma." She said, "Okay." She said, "Thank you." She said, "I love you." I hung up the phone and I felt something I had not felt since Tom died. Purpose. The party planning started in March. Emma had a Pinterest board with 300 pins, string lights, mason jars, a photo booth with props, a candy bar, a flower wall. I did not know what half of these things were, but I learned. I learned about balloon arches and farm tables and charcuterie boards. I learned that a DJ cost $1,200 and a photographer cost $1,500 and a tent with sides and lighting cost $2,800. I wrote it all down in a little notebook. The notebook became my Bible. Derek handled the catering. He knew a guy. He always knew a guy. The guy was named Tony, and he owned an Italian restaurant in the next town over. Derek said Tony would give us a deal, $750 for a pasta bar with salad and bread and chicken parmesan. That sounded reasonable to me. I wrote it down, $750. Everything was adding up. April, May, June. I wrote check after check. $300 for the deposit on the tent, $400 for the photographer's deposit, $200 for the flower wall, another $400 for the DJ. The dress was $800. I wrote that check too. I wrote it with a smile on my face. Emma tried on the dress at my house. She spun around in my living room, where Tom used to watch football. She looked like an angel. I took a picture. I still have that picture on my phone. I look at it sometimes, and I do not know whether to cry or throw my phone against the wall. The total came to $19,500. I sat down with Kelly and Derek at their kitchen table in June. We had a spreadsheet. Derek made it. He was good with spreadsheets. He was good with numbers. That should have been a red flag too. People who are good with numbers are good at making things add up in ways that benefit them. I handed over a cashier's check for $19,500. Kelly hugged me. Derek shook my hand like I was a business partner. Emma was upstairs with her headphones on. She did not even know. We wanted it to be a surprise. We were going to tell her at the party. The party was July 15th, a Saturday. The weather was perfect, 78 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. The tent went up on Friday. It was white with clear sides and little lights wrapped around the poles like stars. The flower wall was pink and gold, with Emma's name in big wooden letters. The caterer showed up at noon. The DJ set up by 4. The photographer arrived at 5. The guests started coming at 6. I wore a blue dress that I bought special. It had lace on the sleeves. Tom would have liked it. He always liked me in blue. I helped Kelly with the guest book. I helped direct cars to the parking area Derek had marked off in the field behind the house. I held Chloe's hand while she told me about her summer camp friend who had a lizard named Kevin. It was perfect. It was exactly what I had imagined. Emma came downstairs at 6:30. She was wearing the dress. Her hair was curled. She looked like a movie star. Her eyes went wide when she saw the tent and the lights and the flower wall and the people. She started crying. I started crying. Kelly started crying. We were all crying and laughing and hugging. Derek took pictures on his phone. He was smiling. That smile, the one that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. I should have known. I should have known. The party was beautiful. The food was good. The DJ played all the songs the kids wanted and some old songs for us old people. I danced with Chloe. I danced with my sister Barb, who drove down from Massachusetts again. I danced with Derek's mother, who I had always liked. She was a quiet woman from Scranton who worked at a bank for 30 years. She did not smile much, but she was kind. I wonder if she knew. I wonder if she knew what her son was doing. I will never ask her. I left around 10:30. I was tired. My feet hurt from the shoes. The blue dress was starting to feel tight around my ribs. I hugged Kelly and Derek and the girls, and I drove home in the dark with the windows down and the radio playing some old song I did not recognize. I felt happy. I felt full. I felt like Tom was watching and smiling somewhere. A week later, everything ended. It was a Thursday. I was watering the roses. The sun was hot, and I had my big straw hat on and my gardening gloves. My phone rang. It was my sister Barb. She did not say hello. She said, "Susan, where is your money?" I asked her what she meant. She said Kelly posted something on Facebook, a photo of a house, a new house, a bigger house, with a caption about finally finding their dream home after years of searching. I told Barb I did not have Facebook. I never wanted Facebook. I told her I did not understand what that had to do with me. Barb was quiet for a second. Then she said, "Susan, I think Kelly and Derek used your money for a down payment. I think they took your $19,000 and bought a house." I laughed. I actually laughed. I said, "Barb, that is crazy. The money was for Emma's party. I wrote the checks myself. I saw the tent. I saw the caterer. I saw the flower wall." Barb said, "Susan, I am looking at the post right now. The house has 5 bedrooms. It has a pool. It closed on July 17th, 2 days after the party." I stopped laughing. I took off my gloves. I walked inside. I sat down at the kitchen table where I signed the mortgage papers for this house 33 years ago with a baby on my chest. I opened my laptop. I typed in the web address for the county property records. I am not good with computers, but I know how to do that. Tom taught me. He said, always check the property records if you are buying or selling anything. He said people lie on paper all the time. I searched Derek's name, then Kelly's name, then the address Barb had given me. There it was. A quitclaim deed, a mortgage from a bank, a closing disclosure, and a cashier's check from my account for $19,500, listed as a gift from family. A gift. They called it a gift. I sat there for a long time. The sun moved across the kitchen floor. The roses needed water. I did not move. I just stared at the screen. $19,500. My money. Tom's life insurance. The money I was supposed to use for my own retirement. The money I gave because I wanted to see my granddaughter smile. The tent was not theirs. The caterer was not theirs. The photographer was not theirs. They had taken my money and used a fraction of it on the party and pocketed the rest. The party was a cover, a performance, a stage play with me as the lead actress paying for my own destruction. I called Kelly. She did not answer. I called again. She did not answer. I called Derek. He did not answer. I texted both of them. I said, "Call me, please." I said, "It is important." I said, "I know about the house." 30 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Kelly. She was crying. That is the first thing I heard. Crying. Real crying or fake crying, I still do not know. She said, "Mom, I can explain." I said, "Explain then." She said, "Derek lost his job in March. He did not tell anyone. He was embarrassed. He had been hiding it. They could not make the mortgage on the townhouse. They were going to lose it. They needed a down payment for a new house before the bank took the old one. The party was already planned. They did not know how to tell me." I said, "You knew how to take my check, though. You knew how to deposit it. You knew how to lie to my face at the kitchen table while I handed you $19,500 for a party that was never really a party. It was a robbery. You robbed me." Kelly stopped crying. Her voice changed. It got harder. She said, "Mom, we were going to lose our house. We needed help. You had money. Dad left you money. What were you going to spend it on anyway? You are 72 years old. You do not need $19,000 for yourself." I heard those words and something inside me broke. Not in a dramatic way, not like a glass shattering, more like a rope snapping. Quiet. Final. The thing that had been holding me together for 72 years just let go. I said, "You are my daughter. I carried you. I fed you. I held you when you were sick. I stayed up all night when you had nightmares. I paid for your wedding. I babysat your children for free for 8 years. I gave you everything I had, everything. And you think you are entitled to my money because I am old and I do not need it?" She said, "That is not what I meant." I said, "What did you mean then?" She did not answer. I said, "Did Derek put you up to this? Did he tell you to say those things?" She said, "Mom, Derek is my husband. We are a team. We did what we had to do to save our family." I said, "I am your family too. I am your mother." She said, "I know, I love you, but you do not understand what it is like to be young right now. Everything is so expensive. We are just trying to survive." I hung up the phone. I sat in the kitchen until it got dark. I did not turn on the lights. I just sat there in the blue-gray darkness of a summer evening. and I thought about every check I had ever written them. The down payment for the townhouse in 2013, $10,000. The car they bought in 2016 when their old one broke down, $7,000. The braces for Emma in 2020, $4,000. The summer camp for Chloe in 2022, $2,000. The Christmas presents, the birthday presents. The groceries I bought when they said they were short that month. The dinners I paid for. The clothes I bought for the girls. The school supplies. The field trip fees. The dance class tuition. It added up to more than I wanted to calculate. Much more. The next day, I drove to their townhouse. I wanted to see it one more time before they moved. The for sale sign was already in the yard, a lockbox on the front door. The grass was overgrown. The flower beds were empty. They had already checked out. They were already living in their new house. The house with 5 bedrooms and a pool. The house I paid for. I sat in my car across the street for 20 minutes. I watched a woman walk her dog. I watched a kid ride his bike. I watched the clouds move over the roof where my granddaughters used to sleep. And I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a huge, empty, quiet space where my heart used to be. The freeze that started in the parking lot of the oncology clinic had finally spread all the way through me. I did not go to the new house. I did not want to see it. I did not want to see the pool or the 5 bedrooms or the kitchen island that probably cost more than my first car. I drove home and I watered the roses, and I went to bed at 7 o'clock. I slept for 12 hours. I woke up and made coffee and sat in my chair and stared at the wall, just like after Tom died, just like after the funeral. Back in the dark room with the soft walls. 2 weeks passed. Kelly called a few times. I did not answer. She sent texts. Mom, please talk to me. Mom, I am sorry. Mom, I love you. I read them and deleted them. Derek did not call. He never called again. I think he was relieved. I think he was happy to have me out of the way. The old lady with her money and her expectations and her inconvenient love. He got what he wanted. A new house, a fresh start, no strings attached. I talked to a lawyer, a woman named Patricia in a glass office building downtown. She was young, maybe 35. She had sharp eyes and a calm voice, and she listened to everything without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and said, Mrs. Hartwell, I am going to be honest with you. You gave them that money voluntarily. You wrote the checks. You signed them. There is no contract. There is no fraud, unless you can prove they lied about the purpose of the money from the beginning, and that is very hard to prove. I asked her about the deed, the quitclaim deed, the gift letter they signed. She said that is the problem. They signed a letter saying the money was a gift. You did not sign anything, but they are the ones who made the representation to the bank, not to you. The bank does not care where the money came from as long as someone signed a letter. The bank is not going to help you get it back. I asked her if I could sue them. She said you could, but you would spend more on legal fees than you would get back. And you would destroy any relationship you have left with your daughter and your granddaughters. I said, what relationship? Patricia was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I am sorry, Mrs. Hartwell. I really am. I paid her $300 for the consultation, and I drove home. I stopped at the grocery store on the way. I bought a frozen lasagna and a bag of salad and a bottle of red wine. The wine was $10. I stood in the aisle looking at the $10 bottle, and I thought about $19,500. I thought about how many bottles of wine that would buy. I thought about how many grocery trips, how many doctor visits, how many months of property taxes, how many years of my life I had given to people who saw me as an ATM with a heartbeat. That night, I drank half the bottle. I sat in the dark again. I let myself feel it, all of it. The anger came first, hot and bright. I wanted to call Kelly and scream at her. I wanted to drive to their new house and throw a rock through their window. I wanted to tell everyone what they did. I wanted to post it on Facebook, even though I did not have Facebook. I wanted to stand outside their door and yell until the neighbors came out and listened. Then the anger went away, and the sadness came, deep and cold. The sadness of a mother who has outlived her usefulness. The sadness of realizing that your children do not see you as a person. They see you as a resource, a thing to be managed, a check to be cashed. A problem to be solved when you get too old and too expensive and too needy. I thought about Emma and Chloe. They did not know. They probably still do not know. Or maybe they do. Maybe Kelly told them something. Maybe she said Grandma helped us buy the new house. Maybe she made it sound generous. Maybe she made it sound like I offered, like I wanted to do it, like I was so happy to give away $19,000 so they could have a pool and a 5-bedroom house, while I eat frozen lasagna alone in my kitchen. I thought about confronting them at school. I thought about writing them a letter. I thought about telling them the truth when they are older. But what would that do? It would hurt them. It would make them hate their parents. It would make them hate me for making them hate their parents. Or worse, it would make them feel sorry for me, and I cannot stand being pitied. I would rather be forgotten than pitied. So I did nothing. I went back to my routine. Coffee in the morning, the roses, the grocery store, the doctor appointments, the phone calls with my sister who told me I should forgive them. Barb said forgiveness is for you, not for them. Barb said holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting them to die. Barb said all the things people say when they have not been robbed by their own child. I told Barb to stop. I said I will forgive them when I am ready, not before. And I am not ready. I may never be ready, and that is my right. Barb said okay. She said I love you, and she stopped talking about it. September came. The air turned cooler. The roses started to fade. I deadheaded them one last time before the first frost. I wore Tom's old flannel shirt while I worked. It still smelled like him, a little, underneath the smell of the laundry detergent and the cedar from the closet. I closed my eyes and breathed him in, and I pretended for 1 second that he was still inside the house watching football, that he would come out any minute with a glass of lemonade and ask me if I wanted to go get ice cream. But he did not come out. He never comes out anymore. On the first Sunday of October, I drove past the new house. I told myself I would not. I told myself it would only hurt. But I did it anyway. I needed to see it. I needed to make it real. The house was beautiful. I will give them that. White with black shutters, a wraparound porch, big windows, a driveway that curved through a lawn so green it looked fake. The pool was covered for the winter, but I could see the shape of it in the backyard. A fence around it, lounge chairs stacked in the corner, a grill on the patio. The kind of girl Tom would have loved. The kind of girl he talked about buying for 20 years and never bought because he said it was too expensive. I sat in my car at the end of the driveway for maybe 5 minutes. I watched Emma come out the front door. She was wearing sweatpants and a hoodie. She had her phone in her hand. She was laughing at something. She looked happy. She looked healthy. She looked like a girl who had no idea that her grandmother was sitting in a 12-year-old Honda at the end of her driveway, crying into a pair of gardening gloves. I did not get out of the car. I did not honk. I did not wave. I just watched her get into a car that was not Derek's. Some boy with a baseball cap and a nice smile. They drove away. I watched the taillights disappear around the corner, and I drove home. That was 4 months ago. It is February now. Cold, gray. The roses are sleeping under the snow. I have not spoken to Kelly since the phone call. She has stopped calling. She has stopped texting. I think she has accepted it. I think she has decided that I am the problem. The bitter old mother who cannot let go of money. The woman who chose a checkbook over her own grandchildren. That is what she tells herself. That is what she tells Derek. That is what she will tell Emma and Chloe when they ask why they do not see Grandma anymore. I am not the problem. I know that. But knowing it does not make the nights any shorter. Knowing it does not fill the silence in this house. Knowing it does not give me back the little girls who used to run through my backyard with their arms out like airplanes. I still have the notebook, the one with all the party expenses. I look at it sometimes. I run my fingers over the numbers. 19,500. I think about what I could have done with that money. A new roof for this house, a trip to Italy, a lifetime of frozen lasagnas, a donation to the animal shelter. Anything. Anything would have been better than giving it to people who smiled at me while they picked my pocket. But here is the thing I have learned. The real thing. The thing that keeps me up at night. It was never about the money. The money was just the knife. The betrayal was the wound. And the wound is not healing. It is not even trying to heal. It is just sitting there inside my chest like a piece of shrapnel, a reminder that the people you love the most are the only ones who can really hurt you. A stranger cannot betray you. An enemy cannot break your heart. Only a daughter can do that. Only a son-in-law you welcomed into your family. Only a granddaughter who does not even know she is the reason her grandmother is sitting alone in a dark house on a Tuesday night, watching the snowfall. I am 72 years old. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. I am a widow. And I am alone. Not because they took my money, but because they took my trust. And trust at my age is not something you can rebuild. There is not enough time. There is not enough love left. I gave it all away, every last drop, and now the well is dry. The coffee maker beeps 3 times. Black, no sugar. I pour it into a mug that says, "World's Best Grandma." Emma gave it to me for Christmas 3 years ago. I still use it. I will always use it. Because I am still her grandmother, even if she does not know it, even if she forgets me, even if Kelly tells her stories that make me the villain. I am still her grandmother, and I still love her, and that is the most pathetic thing about me. That is the thing that makes me want to laugh until I cry. I still love them, all of them, and they do not deserve it, not one single penny of it. But love is not about deserving. Love is about giving. And I gave. I gave until there was nothing left, and then I gave some more. That is who I am. That is who I have always been. That is who Tom fell in love with 46 years ago. A woman who gives, a woman who loves, a woman who believes that family means something, that blood means something, that the checks you write and the years you sacrifice and the tears you cry in the dark are not wasted. But they were wasted, every single one of them. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that I would do it again. If Emma came to me tomorrow and said, "Grandma, I need help," I would write another check. Because that is what love is. That is what love does. Love does not learn. Love does not protect itself. Love just keeps showing up with its hands open, asking to be hurt again. So here I am, sitting in a house that is too big for one person, drinking coffee from a mug that lies to me, waiting for a phone call that will never come, and telling myself that I am fine, that I am okay, that I have my roses and my memories and my frozen lasagna, and that is enough. But it is not enough. It will never be enough. And that is the last thing I will say about it, because my coffee is cold and the sun is starting to rise, and I have to go water the roses, even though they are buried under 2 feet of snow, even though there is nothing to water, even though I am just standing in my backyard with a hose in my hand, pretending that something is still alive out here. Something is still alive. I am still alive. And maybe that is the worst betrayal of all.